welcome to the Post-Human Podcast.
Today's guest, a former conspiracy theorist, and I've been wanting to get one on the show. He's the host of the One-on-One podcast. And this is where I'm a terrible person with names because I've only just got him on through Reddit. So I don't know his second name, but he's just called The One.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Ayala. It's a Spanish name, Juan Ayala, and then I named it Juan on Juan because it's not racist because my name is Juan. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm terrible with names. I'm just going to put that out there. I fuck up everyone's names, whether it's from this country, any country. It doesn't matter. I'd like to claim that I'm dyslexic, but I can read. I'm just slightly dim, and my head's overspilled full of nonsense. So let's talk about conspiracies. There's quite a lot of shit happening right now in the world. One thing that has been happening today, I'm not sure if you were up on it at all, is the John McAfee deal. You know?
yeah, the timer. You're talking about the dead man switch?
Yeah, it was meant to have gone. Wow, many hours ago now.
Yeah.
Got any thoughts on that?
Looks like it was a flop. I was keeping up with it last night, but it looks like it was a flop. But then I saw another post where, when it comes to these sort of things, I am 100% behind the whole Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, and I don't believe John killed himself either. I obviously the powers that be, and I call them the reptilian overlords, the archons, the puppeteers, whoever are controlling and pulling the strings in the background. They don't even care anymore. They're literally just flat out doing it. He hung himself by suicide. Dude, you guys did that last year. But when it comes to these reptilian-esque people, they lack. This is what David Icke talks about. They lack that creativity. They have no way of. They can only copy. They can't come up with their own thing. And one of my friends, Ryan Burns, he hosts the Hero Paranormal podcast. He puts it as in that they're jealous of us, right? And
Okay.
it takes me back to when the Gnostics talked about having that divine spark within yourself. And obviously the demiurge being jealous of that because we do come from divinity.
Yep.
And I believe that all this shit, it all goes back to the same. Are we allowed to curse? I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm sitting there smoking bud and drinking. You listen. This is a loose show. You don't have to. You can curse. You can do whatever you want.
So it all comes back again to these esoteric, ancient civilization, the practices that they had, right? With the whole John McAfee thing, a part of me likes to think about how if they did know as much as they supposedly knew, like Jeffrey Epstein, how they lasted so long. Because why would you let these people get into power to begin with if they have so much against you? You know what I mean?
Well, the story goes that he lent out. Well, we know he McAfee security, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, obviously, he gave out some laptops and blah blah blah. And well, cybersecurity. We don't need to know the full ins and outs of that. Bug in terms of what it was in the 50s was fucking crazy. So you think of it in this way: the one of the greatest inventors of cybersecurity gives out all of these fucking free software, laptops, blah blah blah, and then it equivalates to what 31 tegabytes of data, and then all of a sudden, he goes off into the jungle for a while for whatever reason, and then, he puts up a bunch of tweets, sets this dead man's trigger to release all this information, and then he fucking essentially allegedly kills himself. But the fun part is during all of this time, several days ago, there was a mass amount of servers that went down. Quite a substantial amount of servers that went down, and it's so coincidental that it almost times with this.
Where was that at? I didn't hear about that.
Well, I heard about it on InfoWars. Again, I don't get to watch it that often, but yesterday I had a little bit of a drink and a smoke and some free time, and I was like, let's tune in. And he was basically saying that the global elites are, basically planning huge cyber attacks, and that there was one, and that they'd shut down two of these huge, massive pipes lines of cables, essentially.
Again?
Yeah, well, it keeps happening all the time. This is the thing. And then there was talking what the next step was, but it was just so coincidental that it's around this time in which all of this information is going to be released, so to speak.
What do you make of it?
Well, it's a strange one because, it's a lot of information. Even if it's, think of it this way, it might not even be videos. If it's documents, 31 terabytes of documents.
Of what?
Just solid, like, I don't know. Could be anything. Could be transcripts of audio files or whatever. But 31 terabytes is a lot of information.
That is a lot of information. Have you seen the video of Joe Biden when he's like, how many Republicans accuse us of drinking kids' blood? And he just walks away.
Yeah, he mentioned that apparently twice today.
What a fucking weirdo, man.
Or twice in the same day. I don't know. I mean, I'm from the UK, but I love being plugged into America because it's just, I don't know. The way it plays out sometimes is very fun. Same for the UK, but I get to watch it from afar, which is much more fun. If I'm the whole world can burn outside, but if I'm watching some, old guy being made of a meme because he pinched some girl, hey, that's pretty fucking funny,
Yeah, I saw that as well. I saw that on Reddit last night. But at the end of the day, I'm 100% behind the idea that these elites that everybody talks about are behind some ulterior motive where they're. I was listening to who was it? I think I might have it might have been Manly P. Hall. I was listening to one of his lectures, and he was talking about, if it was him, he was talking about how in not in Hermeticism. What's that? Helena Blavatsky. What does she make? The, which movement I'm talking about with Helena Blavatsky and Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, it's
forget the fucking name.
I know it as well.
Anyways, their whole thing is
Thelema.
Yes. A theosophy, yeah. I believe. Something like that.
Yeah, I think it was Thelema.
And their whole thing is bringing about evil, right? Because a lot of people go, oh, well, Bill Gates has helped a lot of people. Well, they do as much good as they do bad. That's the whole black and white checkered yin and yang.
Yeah, you can't have one without the other. It's a fact.
Exactly.
It's impossible not to.
And they believe in it was corruption until divinity or something like that. Something along those lines, where pretty much what they're hinting at is do as much bad as you can to the point where you'll be divine, because you'll eventually get to another level of, bringing about the evil instead of suppressing.
I know what you mean. Makes sense.
And that's fucked, dude. That sounds horrible.
Well, I mean, it does sound horrible, but to some aspect, you can sort of drive yourself that way. If you can convince yourself that if you just keep doing bad, that you're doing good, to the point where, as worse as it gets,
what is good and what is bad?
Yeah. Well, that's even then very subjective.
Like you as a father, right? And I'm a father as well. When it comes to these sort of things, because it all revolves around children, right? Usually, it's like, oh well, they're pedophiles. They're pedophile elites. They do X things. When I think about that, it makes my blood boil, and it makes me like, if somebody was ever to do anything to my child, I would eat the other person. Like I would.
Did you see there was it was amongst all that John McAfee stuff. There was a picture of the diamond mine or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah, I saw that with the 2 holes.
And there was some thread halfway down there that that led to a 60 minutes Australian video. And I don't know where it went down, but it basically led to a YouTube clip. There was 60 minutes Australian version about some basically a satanic cult. And I don't know why it was on Australian 60 minutes, because it was about a UK girl that basically it was fucked up, man, and it made my blood boil. But it was like 1989 or some shit like that. And basically, like, the grandma had basically sold the young girl, like from a very young age, into this like sort of cult, but they never went into the details, so to speak. But you can kind of get a bit of a, if you watch it, you can, and some conspiracy theorists will go, oh yeah, well, it could be anywhere. But some people will put together like 2 and 3 and they'll get a 4,
Yeah. No,
Um,
I get you, but I mean, you can think of what they did, right? But I've I read this occult book. I forgot the name of it. Because usually what I'll do is I'll go on YouTube and I'll make playlists, and then when I'm either like out working on the lawn or something like that, I'll pop it on. And I just have this long playlist of hours and hours of lectures and audiobooks. And I was listening to this. It was the name was The Astral Plane, Its Scenery and Its Inhabitants, or something like that, by something Ledbetter was the guy's name.
I've not heard of that.
And yeah, I'll look up the name later and give it to you. And pretty much he was talking about how children, they have this aura to them and this purity,
Yep.
right? And people are attracted to that. So it comes back down to the indoctrination that goes on throughout all the years in the life of a person. And as you know, kids are so innocent the first, what, 3, 4, 5 years of their lives,
Maybe a bit longer.
maybe a bit longer, and they're not indoctrinated with this dogma of religion and other bullshit that they come up with in society. And before they're able to pretty much take that away, that innocence from that child, they're just extra pure. That's why when my son, I sometimes would see him like laughing and smiling into space, right?
Yeah, Mark. Same.
That shit's creepy because they say that they're, I believe, and I firmly believe, ever since my father's heart attack, he died 4 times. And this was recently. He died 4 times. And they finally were able to bring him back. And me being the type of person that I am, and I was raised religious, Christian Pentecostal for almost all my life. So I had the dogmas of all the church and everything. And the first thing that I asked my dad when he came back, that I was finally able to talk to him, the first thing I asked him was, I said, so how, what, like, what'd you see? How was it? And he goes, what do you mean? And I go, how was the other side? Dude, you died 4 times. He's like, I didn't see anything. It was nothing. And it doesn't lead me to believe there's 2 sides. Obviously, it leads me to believe that maybe there is nothing and you become nothing when you're done, because energy can only be transformed. And in the end, when you expire, that's it. You just go into the ether. And in this actual book, it was
It's one
talking
of my
about
favorite
that.
words, ether. I use it all the time. Love that word, ether. Sorry.
You're good. You're good. The author in the book was talking about how he was talking about elementals and obviously the law of attraction and manifestations and whatnot. And one of the main things he was talking about was, don't mourn a person when they die, because that's only the beginning of the journey. When you're, and it's fucked up because I've heard people say that you have to kill yourself to exit the simulation, to exit this reality, but you won't know unless you kill yourself.
Well, that's still the thing with like modern day tech. People are going to clearly try. I mean, maybe not in our lifetime, but the next. Some people might become slightly immortal, you know.
Do you know?
But is that the next step? Imagine what what could you miss? You don't
Have
know.
you seen the show Westworld.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love Westworld. Same for the original film as well.
You know that Jeffrey Epstein was all about the transhumanistic movement, about becoming transhumanism. He wanted to spread his seed. He had a ranch in
Yeah, yeah,
Utah,
yeah, yeah.
out of all places, Utah, where the Skinwalker Ranch is. And he wanted to impregnate, I think it was like 32 women or 33. And remember, symbols are the language of the soul. This is why I always tell people you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist, right? You can be open minded, because in life you have two options: either you question everything, or you take it how it's spoon fed to you by the powers that be, and you shut the fuck up and you do what you're told.
Yeah.
Obviously, Occam's razor, some things could be explained. To add on to the John McAfee conspiracy, I also saw, I don't know if you heard about here in Miami, the building that collapsed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're also taking a heavy amount of flooding, so to speak, with the tide. They're meant to be losing a lot of shoreline, coastline.
Did you see the conspiracy behind that building?
No,
And
I didn't know. I didn't really get. I mean, I briefly heard about it, but I didn't get to look into it because it's just another one of those things, and there's a lot of tragedies happening, like the China flooding, and
yeah,
there's just so many different
in Germany
events.
too, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's tons, even the big fire and shit like that. There's tons of fires going on at the minute, and so. But no, I didn't. What is the conspiracy behind that? Because that I didn't know there was one. That's
So
interesting.
this building collapsed, and I think somewhere around the ballpark figure of 200 people lost their lives. And apparently, this building, since the early 90s or the late 90s, was sinking into the ground inch by inch. And the people, the coding and all that, they ignored it and ignored it, and supposedly about a few weeks ago it collapsed, and all these people got buried under rubble, and half the building stayed up. But that same week, we had a hurricane coming towards Florida, and they wanted to tear it down and finish demolishing the entire building, the condo building in downtown Miami. They wanted to bring it down. Now, that's fine. Mind you, they were still looking for people that could have been alive. Obviously, if you dump a building on top of their head, they're
Yeah,
not going to
yeah.
be alive anymore, right? But according to the conspiracy, the company that was in charge of the demolition was the same company that was in charge of the 9/11 cleanup. And they said that they almost like they were rushing to tear it down. They were like, "Oh, we have to get this building down. It's a hazard. It's a hazard. The hurricane's coming. It's a hazard." And they tore it down, bro. They finished demolishing it, and they say that they were rushing that because John McAfee had some documents in a condo on that property in one of those
Uh,
rooms, so they wanted to finish it off and get rid of the evidence. How true that is, I don't know, because it's not the greatest of areas. And if you're a multi-billionaire,
yeah.
you're not
Mm,
gonna have a shithole of a condo. You know what I mean? So
well,
take that with a grain of salt.
but you could also say the dude was a cybersecurity expert, so espionage kind of would be. It's not. Maybe, do you know what would be the more fucked up? Imagine if the dude had a body double. All this whole time is just got
Saddam
some.
Hussein had one.
Every fucking celebrity has fucking
Hitler
stunt
supposedly
double.
had one.
Yeah, well, that's another wild one. Is like,
Castro had one.
yeah. Well, here's something that I've spoke about on a few shows, but not. Again, I like to talk about conspiracies, but very few people have got into this one. Antarctica. That's one of the big ones.
Admiral Byrd.
Yeah, I mean, the second person that's mentioned Admiral Byrd, but it goes a little bit beyond that, clearly, because there is a big fuck off hole there. It's blatant
If
as day.
if you want to get into it, I mean, the whole that John post showing that mine might hint to something about Hollow Earth, because did you know? I don't know. Have you ever looked into the Anunnaki?
Yeah, yeah, I know all about the Hollow Earth and all. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, uh, and there's whole underground cities. Darren Kuyu being one of them in Turkey that supposedly was supposedly they made it to during the Byzantine era to hide
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
Muslim invasion. it's all bullshit, right? These
It's
it's literally an underground city. Look it up.
Well, it's the
And
same in Iraq. There's tons and
oh
tons,
yeah,
all under Benghazi, everywhere. It's just all tunnels. It's why they were so fucking hard to track and trace during the Iraqi war, because there was just tunnels everywhere. There'd be one minute there'd be fucking to the east, and then half a day later they'd be halfway miles away on the west, and there was like, what the fuck? How'd you get there? Like, people are springing up all over the place, and it was utter confusion. So and
the
they've been there for donkeys, you know.
yeah the that picture that he posted with that mine with the two holes, it made me think of Hollow Earth because again and I brought the Anunnaki up because that picture that he showed it's a famous mine, I think, in Africa, no?
Yeah, Sierra Mine, I think.
Something like that. And the Anunnaki there, I think it's in Africa, somewhere along those lines. There's an ancient gold mine
Mm.
that's over like 10,000 years old where they were mining gold. So I'm like, what is all this? Why is he showing a picture of a gold mine out of all places? What does that have to do with anything? And then you're talking about Hollow Earth. I'm like,
Well, the thing with gold is that the conspiracy is that, and they've started to put it into play, which it reflects the atmosphere and the sun's rays. Like, if you put gold particles into space,
yeah,
and that's one of the big theories, is that there was mining it because their planet was fucked,
yeah,
and was going to die. So they'd come round and pick up, universe to universe and mine gold. And as is an abundance with gold and naturally rich with huge amounts of minerals. I mean, it kind of makes sense if you could, you know. I mean, I do believe in aliens. I don't know if that is necessarily true, but the fact that we're doing that now kind of gives a little bit of credibility to it. It's
yeah.
it's like making up it's like completely making up a story in a way, and then 20 years later, you're acting it out.
It's what it is. It's narrative fallacy, right? It's a narrative fallacy where they have
Hmm.
to come up with some sort of explanation for everything. And I'm I'm all about ancient history
Yeah, me
and
too.
ancient civilizations. And you can't deny the fact that there are similarities between all of these ancient cultures in different parts of the world, ancient Mesopotamia, Mesoamerica, different parts of the world, Egypt, where they had the same figures over and over again. Right? You have Buddha, you have Krishna, you have Jesus Christ, you have all these different figures that were similar. Quetzalcoatl, right? You
Yep.
have that they're similar, but yet in different parts of the world, and they all have that bag, right? You seen that
Yeah,
little
yeah.
satchel that they have? That's fucking wild. It blows my mind, dude.
Well, another weird thing about that era is when you look at some of the creatures, they're all fucked up. They're all like
Mm-hmm.
chimeras and stuff like that. One of my own theories is, well, it's a half theory based upon a couple of other theories. Is obviously, I think we've been here for hundreds of thousands of years, probably a lot longer. We've been constantly getting wiped out and obliterated, forgetting our past, which is pretty much likely to happen. If you're even 1,000 people and a devastation happens, and then you're down to six, your focus is on breeding and surviving, not on passing knowledge down. You know.
Yeah,
So, but sorry,
I can get I can get behind that one. I
but
yeah,
also in that same aspect is that now modern day we're fucking about with genetics, like literally, like they're called modern day chimeras. So what I believe is that we were advanced through alien genetics, the way in which we're doing it now with other fucking creatures, and we've been doing that since the early 90s, probably, if not way way earlier. um, and we've probably been fucking fighting these creatures like in myths. This probably isn't a story. Noah's Ark was a story, but it was based upon the Great Flood. Well, maybe some of these Greek stories aren't necessarily completely accurate, but maybe a little bit. You know, the same for there's tons in Egypt. There's tons even in ancient Sumer. There's these weird creatures that are part man or part animal or makes or again part animal, another part animal. And I think that maybe that is what happened during our history, and that was same for giants. They were probably real.
Yeah, it's like the Epic of Gilgamesh. This
There's a lot
this
of
wild man, right?
yeah, we can't explain a lot of it, but of course we're not going to. There's been millions of catastrophes, like tons.
Yeah, I believe that giants did exist at one point because if everything that we're taught, right, the dinosaurs, everything just got smaller.
Yeah,
Right? Dinosaurs were big, then there was big bugs, and the bugs got a little bit smaller, and then the dinosaur turned into a chicken and all this stuff, right?
I
Everything
think
got
dragons
smaller.
were dinosaurs. Like, do you know, like pterodactyls?
Yeah.
Well, we went into caves. Obviously, fucking huge amounts of nuclear waste and fucking comet explosions. Bang! You know, we've all got to go to the caves. We can't breathe out there. So we did. We went into caves. Well, so did the birds. Some of those big birds, like pterodactyls, maybe there was a couple that survived. And then what happens? We come out first. They come out a little bit later. Dragons. We have to fight these motherfuckers because they're hungry as fuck. You know?
What do you think about Bigfoot, bro?
Bigfoot, I think he's a real guy. I think half of the reason that you never find anybody's bones or skin is because he's doing some sort of Ed Gein style cabin thing, but in a cave, and he's making like furniture but out of people. He's got
Oh,
like
it's fucked.
lamps. He's got like human lampshades. That's why there's no remains. All these missing people in America. He's just got him and his family all chilling on a sofa full of bones, human wallpaper.
Yeah,
That
like the
human wallpaper. That was actually
have you
pretty
seen
fucked up.
that movie? What the hell is it called? Primal Instinct or some shit with
Is that the Bobcat Goldthwait one? You seen that one with the Sasquatch?
I think it's Primal with the Bigfoot. Primal Rage. Have you seen it?
I don't think I've seen Primal Rage. No,
It's on.
is that the more horror style one? I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like Bigfoot is like this hunter, and I think they're in Washington or something like that. It's
Oh
pretty
no, I've
good
not seen
actually.
that.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Bobcat Goldthwait's got the best one. It's like I can't remember what it's called. I mentioned it the other day, but it's like shot like the Blair Witch. And like it's a couple, and then there's obviously all those weird shouts. Do you know, like they're doing the audio?
Willow Creek.
Willow Creek, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's very good. It's amazing. Highly recommendable.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that. I haven't checked that one out actually.
Very good. It's
I don't think we find evidence of him because he, he-
it's
like how
elusive.
in the Bible they talked about the Nephilim and the Elohim and all these, right, the angels of that they had sex with the daughters of men, these these
Yeah,
divine
yeah,
beings, and that's how you get, you're talking about chimeras. I believe that's how we got demigods like Hercules and all these different figures along the world because divinity was coming down and mating with us. And then when they got tired of having sex with people, they started fucking the animals. So that's where we get minotaurs,
yeah.
centaurs, because it says it in the Bible when they were inserting themselves into the animals. So they were just going crazy, just fucking everybody, right? And then that's how we got these different chimeras of centaurs, minotaurs, harpies, all these different
Yeah, yeah.
mythological creatures that are like hybrids. Well, that's what ended up happening. And Bigfoot, I believe, was one of the results of that. And I believe he's able to transcend through dimensions and and even like I I've talked about this on my podcast. In certain parts of the world, that veil is thinner than in other parts. Maybe is it certain minerals in the ground, the
That
way
makes sense. It's
the
like
way my
it's like ley
my buddy
lines.
Ryan, the one now?
Ley lines. It's like ley
Yes.
lines.
And then my buddy Ryan was talking about the certain way that you set up those blocks, right? And I'm like, holy shit, like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, there's a certain way you set up blocks or whatever it is. Like, well, Stonehenge, the Great Pyramids, all the pyramids around the world, right? In Mesoamerica, all
Yeah.
these crazy structures that we have no understanding of what
Well,
the fuck they used it
some
for.
of those huge pillar columns, even in Rome, are fucking ridiculously huge. And they're
Crazy, crazy big.
how the hell are you going to prop that up? Do you know all the work that would go into making that, all the carving and the pouring the concrete? I mean, well, it wouldn't be pouring concrete, but they did make concrete.
They had some sort of mortar that they would
But
use.
yeah, but even then, to carve, imagine that, like a, I don't even know the weight of it, some hefty amount of tons, ridiculous amounts of tons, carving it for
So
months and having to pick it up and then prop another one on top of it. You can't even do that. People can't even stack Jenga blocks. Some people.
yeah, and I think the Great Pyramid is off by like 1/60th of a degree off of like true north. So like it's scary how precise these structures were. And funny you mentioned like how do they lift that up? Well, there's all types of theories of how they
Yeah,
might
I've
have done it.
seen a few.
Machinery, they just had that many people. They were just which you can explain that, right? Let's say that at the end of the day, let's say that they if you have enough people and if you have enough manpower, you can get anything done. So maybe perhaps yeah, at the end of the day, yes,
One
they did.
cool point I heard once was that if you're doing a job and you're working, you don't leave your tools on site.
Yeah,
You take them to the next job
yeah.
because otherwise you've got to replenish those tools and that cost.
You're talking about like how people say where are the tools.
Yeah, yeah. Same
Yeah.
for like Go Beckley Tepe, for
Hmm.
example. People have always gone, well, where's the tools? Well, maybe they had some other work to do, you know?
You do know that Egypt is still 85% under sand.
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
who
Then
the fuck knows what's under there? Only the guys that run they're the ones that are able to explore and do all these things. So what I was gonna get at was maybe they did have a lot of people. Maybe they did have the vast numbers to move these giant stones around. Let's say that some of them died off while they were at it, but they just had primitive tools. And then I was watching this documentary on David Koresh, the Waco guy.
yep.
And when they were trying to flush him out of the building, the police had these big loud speakers on the outside of the building and they were blasting like some Tibetan sounds, like these like these sounds to
Oh,
try and like they would play it all night. And I believe that frequency is also part of the like the universe and everything. Like maybe my dad didn't see anything on the other side because he wasn't in tune with that frequency. Like when you get on another channel, you know, you're broadcasting and you get on that same wavelength.
maybe.
Maybe he's not spiritual, he's not religious, so maybe to him he didn't see shit because he wasn't attuned to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
But
I know what you
if
mean.
they were able to use sound to move these stones at certain frequencies,
Well,
I believe that's a possibility too.
that's what I was going to get to is they've recently made little devices that can do that, that can levitate little things.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's not stone, but again, we're talking about shit we don't even know. We can barely date back 2,000 years. The Great Pyramid is apparently 10,000, 12,000 years old. Like, this was, I was speaking about this earlier on today. When I was in school, I got force fed a load of bullshit because most of even the one thing that was true was maths and science. Well, most of that is being rewritten now. So, you know, religion, well, that was one sided. History,
His
even again,
story.
yeah, you know, again, conquerors. The only one that was about factual was geography. And even then, they can't even accurately do that. That's what's even more fucked. Like, I've learned more since coming out of school than I was in that whole, 16 years. Obviously, it's a lot longer for Americans, but we get that choice at 16.
To leave school.
Yeah, well, that's it. We finish at 16, or then we choose to go to college.
Wow.
I went to college for a bit, but it was just, I was sick of education. It was stupid. Like, I know what I needed to know. You know,
I've learned more from YouTube than I have my whole entire career going to school.
not even YouTube, just real documentaries. You know, just
Mhm.
you could physically go onto Netflix nowadays and just barrage your way through hours and hours and hours of documentaries. I mean, I've got into watching World War II in color because I was
Oh,
like, that's
nice.
pretty cool. I'm like, I
Love
probably
World War Two.
yeah, me too. I wouldn't watch it in black and white, but I'm like a little bit. I might watch it in black and white because I like Laurel and Hardy. I like a lot of old shit, but I was like, in color, this has got me intrigued. You know, let's see what their uniforms might have looked like and shit like that. You
And they
know,
do a good job with it too.
yeah, it was fantastic.
Excellent job.
It was so cool. But even then, I learned a hell of a lot from just that little documentary, just because it was all real footage rather than just like a couple of YouTube bits and some guy over narrating. And I mean, it works. Some people are fantastic at it. I'm not saying they're not, but when you compare it to taking a whole bunch of real footage and upscaling it and then narrating over that with the real truth and playing it out, it's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, and speaking of Hollow Earth, the I believe that the Germans, they were, the way they were able to upscale their production of vehicles. I believe they did gather. So I believe that's what World War II was for. That alien technology that they eventually discovered
It was like
and
the
were
Glock,
able to tap into.
the Glockenbau.
Yeah, the Hitler Stonehenge, I think they call it.
Yeah, that's a even then like the remains of the henge is there, but the bell itself
So
nowhere to be seen. Why not? Why can't we see it? What's wrong with not looking at it? It's just a fucking metal bell.
the
You know?
what people fail to recognize is that, and I'm not a flat earther. I've had flat earthers on my podcast,
Yeah, I'm not a
but
flat earther, but Hollow Earth's a different story.
yeah, no, for that, that's for sure.
Yeah, man.
The what people fail to mention is that, and fail to recognize, Warner von Braun put us on the moon.
Yeah.
He helped us create the rocket that got us on the moon. And who was Warner von Braun?
Well,
A famous Nazi.
obviously during the end of World War II, it was just it's so fucking crazy because
Operation Paperclip.
yeah, Operation Paperclip, but obviously there were so many people and countries wanting the Germans and the German scientists. And even then, there was so many of them cutting and making deals and trying to. I mean, Tarantino made a great point about it in Inglorious Bastards.
Oh,
You
I love
know,
that movie. Yeah.
with the wow, what's his name? Fucking
Such a great film.
yeah, I can't. We all know
Tarantino's racist as fuck, though.
I don't think he's a racist. He gets the narrative to a T. It's how people talk. It's how people react, and it's. I don't think he's a racist. He's actually. Did you ever watch? Are you a fan of Joe Rogan?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go see him on the 24th here in Orlando.
Oh, son of a bitch!
Yeah,
God damn it! Super
I've had those
jealous.
tickets since last year.
It's the Sacred Clown tour, isn't it?
Yeah,
Son of a bitch.
yeah, I'm a huge Joe Rogan fan.
Did you see Tarantino on there?
No, but I queued it up on Spotify. I have it on my playlist.
There you go. See, it was a great episode. Um, a lot of people call Tarantino a racist, and you can see why, but it's not his words.
What was it? The Django Unchained. It's one of my favorite movies.
Uh, Ah, me too. It's fucking
And
amazing.
Leonardo
It's
DiCaprio on that was just
stabbed his fucking hand in that. Acted cool as fuck throughout the whole of it.
wait. He actually stabbed his hand.
Yeah, you know when he's fucking around with that skull.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was impromptu, right?
Yeah,
Where he cut his hand. He cut his hand on camera, and that was all.
yeah, it was all he just had to he just run with it. But you can look at his face and it's you know it's just ran with it. Just and it worked. That's why it's so effective. It's crazy. Just
Yeah, I think I did see that where he cut his hand.
I mean,
hand scene.
it was an accident, but obviously the fact that he just ran with it is astonishing.
He had to get stitches and everything.
I mean, he deserved an Oscar years ago. Like, there's very few people that have done consistently good roles. I mean, The Wolf of Wall Street was bad as well. You know,
Oh,
that was
yes.
fucking amazing.
Who was the director of that?
Ooh, shit.
Let me look it up.
I'd like to say that it was. Hmm.
I'll tell you right now. I'm
Probably
looking it
know.
up.
I probably know who it is as well.
Directed by
It's gonna kill me when you say it because I'm gonna know it.
Martin Sorrisi.
Martin Scorsese. I knew it. Fucking was.
Scorsese.
Yeah,
I'm terrible with
I
names.
knew that's who it was. Like, do you know it's director of The Irishman and all them fucking films? But I didn't think that he actually did. Yeah, son of a bitch. I knew it'd kill me.
Goodfellas, After Hours.
Yeah, Goodfellas.
The,
One of my
the
favorite
Aviator,
films.
Gangs of New York. Damn, that was a good movie
Yeah.
too, man.
Even
Shutter Island. Holy fuck.
Shutter Island was bad. I mean,
That was amazing.
that was one of the greatest twists in cinema history since like The Sixth Sense. You know, you never knew what was going on all the way through that film. Like, it was so fucked up. And then
Hopefully
obviously
they don't shit all over the new Matrix. I'm a big fan of maybe Matrix 1 and 2, 3,
I rewatched
but-
them all. They just recently went back onto Netflix, and I had a bit of time to kill. And I say time to kill. It was, I'd done shows all night, and I had to babysit my son like 2 hours later. So I started to watch the first one, and then obviously I'd finished that, babysat while my partner was getting back from work, and then I was like, all right, I'm going to bed, and then watch the second one. I was trying to go to sleep, but I was like, oh, I'll just put it on to go to sleep. So I watched the second one, and then obviously continued watching the third one whilst just nodding off, essentially. I basically got pretty much all the way to halfway through the third one, and then I was like, okay, we remember how it ends. But I am looking forward to the new one, but when they do it and it almost comes across as a prequel, can't say I'm overly keen.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that, like, and especially where's the story gonna go? Because on the third one, you could.
It's all they can do though. They can't go forward. They can only go back. They set themselves up for that fail.
So you think that they're just gonna do like maybe another perspective or something like that?
Well, I think it's what it's meant to be about is obviously young Morpheus, isn't it?
Oh.
And about how obviously his little path, and then I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
that's good. I could get behind that. Like a young Morpheus, like a different timeline.
So I got a big fuck off helicopter going overhead. But no, I like the idea of it, but it just seems like a template. You know, it's like, hey, let's just young Morpheus. Let's make him young, like Teen Titans.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see where that story began. And then, are we supposed to say now? Is it the Wachowski sisters or just the Wachowskis? Like, how does that work? Because that was like weird as fuck too, right?
Yeah, it's kind of well. I think only one of them.
Both.
Oh, okay. I don't know. That's kind of bizarre in a way.
They both did the same thing, which is wild.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect that normally, but I don't know. Each to his own. I mean, sexuality to me doesn't mean shit. Not really. Not with my past.
It's fucking wild though. But yeah, they both did that, and I think one of them is directing this movie with somebody else. So it's not both of them. It's just one of them.
Well, I mean, like I say, they've had so long to work on it. What would it be? 20 years ish?
Yeah,
maybe?
It's been a while.
Almost, maybe 18 years, maybe around there. So it's a long time to at least write. I think that you can get a lot of shit done in 5 years. So if you're going to do a trilogy, it's easily to do. You could write a trilogy in 15 years.
Cloud Atlas. Have you ever seen this movie?
I've never seen Cloud Atlas. The only other time I heard about it was mentioned in Rick and Morty.
I'm gonna check this out. This looks good. It's got this guy in it. A lot of people were talking a lot of shit about him. Tom Hanks is one of the main characters.
Well, that's another weird one that came up during the whole fucking Epstein deal. So many
Yeah.
weird, that, well, they didn't release X amount of names, but the few that were, he was amongst one of them. And then it just got,
Talking
it was,
about the flight list.
yeah, but,
Yeah.
it is what it is. I'm not saying
Yeah,
anything
I
bad
did
about Tom
find that
Hanks.
weird.
He's one of my favorite actors, I loved him in his that last film he did with fuck, what was the name again? Makes no difference. I mean, there was so many names on that list, but it's again, was that list of fakery? Because some of those were pretty fucking high ranking, Hollywood elites, so to speak. But
So my whole thing behind that is that yes, there have been whistleblowers that have come out,
Edward
right?
Snowden,
Yeah, Edward Snowden, right? But I
Julian Assange,
even what did Julian Assange do? And that's embarrassing because did he was it with the CIA? I know Snowden a little bit, but you always hear these names, and I've never actually really looked into.
Well, Julian Assange was WikiLeaks, wasn't he?
Oh, okay, I got you. But
Yeah.
then they have him somewhere, and people are talking about that they're torturing him, obviously. And
Well, I think they locked him up, and then I think they locked him up in somewhere like some Dutch country or somewhere like Sweden or Norway. And he was, because I remember him being in a very cushy jail, and then there was some weird extradition. And then he was in American jail, I think, and then I think it went a bit dark after that. There was these pictures of him with a scraggly beard for whatever reason. Then he went on hunger strikes. Remember all that? That was crazy.
and since you said that you keep up with the states, what's your thought? What is your thoughts on Q? Did you ever get behind that?
Well,
What'd you think of Trump?
I'm a fan of Trump. I'm not a fan of him in terms of him being a president, but I'm a fan of him from a comedic point of view.
Yeah.
I think he's a wild guy. He says and does what the fuck he wants, which is, who gives a shit? He blew up the world essentially. But what he also did was change and revolutionize the world in some aspect. Half of these cancel culture things and everything that's swayed and been in the balance, who really caused that? All the movements or Donald Trump? Who spent fucking 4 years on Twitter? What was
Yeah.
he? And he's gonna probably run for presidency again.
Do you think I think it's all
It's a weird one with Trump, man. I like him because he's just. I think there's a smart. He's a businessman. It's a smart game, and I don't think that it went the way it probably did.
what do you think about so what I'm trying to get at is I think he was like a glitch in the matrix, or maybe he was even part of that script. How do you feel about if we're in this simulation, as Elon Musk has said, and with Nick Bostrom is the guy who wrote the original
Yeah.
paper on that. What's your thoughts on that? That we could be, Rene Descartes, he talked about us being a brain in some vat jar, and he talked about the demiurge, and he talked about how the devil is behind everything, like this demon that's always behind everything.
Well, let's go back to the QAnon thing first, because this is one of the joys of conspiracies: is you can just go to the net.
A rabbit hole.
I know normally it's me, but I'm like, whoa, four steps ahead. But the QAnon was very weird because I found out about it a bit later on. But years before that was the Pizzagate and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously YouTube was full of videos.
What was that? That was Elsa Gate, right?
I don't know what that was. I think that was to do with YouTube Kids videos
Yeah,
being potentially fucked up with
yeah.
graphic images.
Elsa Gate is a neologism referring to the controversy surrounding videos on YouTube and YouTube Kids that are categorized as child friendly, but which contain themes that are inappropriate for children.
Yeah, I remember one of my friends had a child at the time who loved YouTube Kids. And I gave them a warning because I was like, hey, I've just come across this fucking thing. And I was like, just be a bit careful because there's some videos that are getting going around. And it was, I can't remember what he was into at the time, but it was
Yeah,
one of
it's like
those.
Disney characters having sex with each other and
Yeah,
everything.
there was all just weird shit as well. There was all sorts of weird stuff. It was just like kids just falling into door frames or
Yeah.
just really bizarre little fucking things. They were so weird. Like it was so it was all over the place. But I remember what was it? I think it was like it was also around the time of like these weird Thomas the Tank Engine videos where they'd like morph into these weird creepy pasta style things. Do you remember that the creepy pasta thing?
I know what creepy pasta is, yeah.
Yeah, well, there was like occasionally you'll just get weird pictures on there. There's like a standard like Mickey Mouse or whatever.
But
And
like dark.
yeah, and there was like this picture of Thomas the Tank Engine. It's like almost a pretty relevant picture now. It's all over the place. And then we're like weird fucking legs, like a spider walking along the tracks. I mean, it's a horrifying image to a child. Let's put it that way. But there was you should Google it. It's
I'm looking it up now.
it won't be difficult to find. Trust me.
Oh, yeah, that's creepy as fuck.
Yeah. So you get this nice Thomas the Tank Engine video, and
Thomas the Nightmare Engine.
yeah, and then midway through this clip, this fucking thing would like blur onto the screen and do some wild shit. And obviously, I had to inform my friends about that. But again, that was like to do with the Elsa Gate thing. But it was just the name came from just because it was all children's Disney and all that shit. But in terms of the QAnon and all the ritual shit, I think some of that is very wild and out there. But Bohemian Grove was a legitimate thing, and I'm not saying it's all interconnected, but there's been a mass amount of. It's like I was saying earlier on. I watched that 60 Minutes thing, Australia, where there was a cult that was drinking fucking blood and shit. Like it was a wild thing. So it's not like it's not historically true because there was people reporting it in 1989. Is it the same people? Probably not. But were they devil worshippers? Yeah. What the QAnon thing is, I don't know. Probably isn't to do with the devil. You know, there's all these old ancient gods that people keep referring to, and who fucking knows? They could, for all we know, and this is one of the other big things on Reddit, is the fucking Saturn cube.
Oh, I did an episode with Nick Hinton,
I
the
haven't,
Saturn Time Cube.
yeah, well, fucking, I'm a huge fan, as you can see. It's one of my, I'm a huge Stanley Kubrick fan, and he's probably one of the first people to really make relevance to this cube. Like, I think people are getting the wrong idea with this cube. As to its
What do you mean?
well, most people are referring it to
Satan?
to Saturn, but there's a lot of cosmology and shit like that that I don't know. That I don't know, but people are this page is just like going, hey, this is it's just all this geometric shit, and they're pointing the finger in 8 different directions, and it's probably not the case. I think there's a wider story to be cracked, but we're all way off the mark. Me
So
included.
you don't think that
I don't know.
the
Go on.
because I mean the whole thing behind the Saturn Time Cube is Saturn. If you again we talked about ancient civilizations, if you follow his track record per se down the line, you can make correlations that he's Satan or Moloch or e- uh
Well, it's
uh
Kronos. It refers
Kronos,
to
the
time.
father of time. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, but obviously, that's where it gets a bit spooky again, because obviously it doesn't really refer so much as to like Moloch or anything like that. Not well, it kind of does, but it's very like interweaved. I don't know. I could be massively wrong. I don't
I
know.
I can get behind the idea just because of like I mentioned earlier,
People are so
symbols.
vague on that site. Sorry.
Oh no, no, yeah, but I did an episode with Nick Hinton, one of the guys that went viral on Google because of that.
Okay.
And his whole take was that we can't ignore the fact that in all these movies, the Age of Ultron, you have Hellraiser, you have all these symbols, at the
Cube.
Mecca, right? The 9/11 memorial, these black cubes, the Amazon Alexa is a black cube, the Xbox is a black cube, all these, the GameCube. Again, symbols are the language to the soul, and these archonic elites, reptilian elites, whatever, the reptilian overlords, they speak in symbols in these movies, such as The Matrix. If you Google every single character within that cosmology, right, their universe, Neo, the One, Trinity, the Holy Trinity, Morpheus, who is Morpheus
That makes
in
sense. Yeah,
mythology,
yeah,
the ship, the Nebuchadnezzar, right? All these things. What's the
yeah.
underlying
Okay.
message behind the entire fucking movie? Right? You have the demiurge and you have all that shit, the watery light when he goes into the matrix, right? The upper and lower eons, and that we're in this world, this false reality that is ruled by the demiurge. If it is Kronos or Saturn, and you again, there's more evidence, the hexagon on top of the North Pole, and then you have what the freakiest thing to me is,
Well, the same
and
thing is on Jupiter.
what there's a storm.
The red eye Jupiter.
Oh yes, and what the
Uh,
creepiest part that gets me is the frequency that Saturn is putting out. I don't know if you've heard it before.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
I was going to get back into frequencies. Just, but carry on.
so the whole thing is that this frequency is what's stopping us from what the Gnostics believed, was gnosis, right? And through gnosis, you're able to achieve that divinity and you're able to launch yourself up into the upper eons. But you have to pass the tests of whatever the demiurge puts in front of you. And we have all types of fucking books, like even the Tibetan Book of the Dead, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
what you
yeah, yeah.
have to do in the afterlife, you're gonna see so and so, and if he does this, so and so will do this, and
The
it's like
same
a
for
guide.
Egyptians as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You
The
have to
50,
wait. Yeah, you have to do
52
trials.
laws
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Mott and shit. Yeah, yeah. Dude, it's all related. They even talk about Thoth teaching Moses, or maybe that
The
Moses was Thoth.
the emerald
Emerald
tablets.
tablets, yeah. It's
Well,
fucking wild.
I mean, the thing with the cube is I'm a big. I mean, I've read a shit ton of books about cults and stuff regarding it. But then all this stuff that's recently cropped up has just been hella confusing because I've been trying to get someone on my show to talk about it, but everyone's just so vague. It's like it's just a bunch of pictures most of the time. It's like all the posts on the Reddit thing that I'm on. It's like just a collage of pictures and then a bunch of shit. And I'm like, anyone want to come on and talk about this? Let's get some clarity because
And
most
even
people are hella confused. Like,
Saturnalia. Have you ever heard of Saturnalia?
yeah,
It's again, it's what Christmas is based off of. This old Roman holiday where they would put in a pseudo king, and at the end they would kill
kill
the
him. Yeah,
pseudo king.
kill
That's
him.
wild.
They'd all have a fucking party. You'd have a great time, and then bang.
That's crazy knowing that, and they were happy because there was an honor to them. Like, I'm gonna get slaughtered at the end of this.
Where the Purge film was based upon. You know that?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
The Purge was based upon that film. where they just
So
have this one bit of moment where they just get fucked up for like 12 days.
I can get behind the idea. The Saturn Time Cube was actually the first episode I ever did on my podcast with Nick Hinton, and it makes a lot of sense to me. Just the 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 symbolism and everything behind it. If it's true or not, who the fuck knows,
What
man? I
about
mean,
Stanley Kubrick's take on it? Because I'm a huge fan of Kubrick, and that personally to me is the very first, 2001: A Space Odyssey. That is the
oh,
very first
amazing
film
movie.
that mentions most of this shit, and there's a lot of, lore around Kubrick and
So
cults and like Eyes Wide Shut and a whole mess of stuff. But the cube, and they had to change a little bit of the script, you know, as to where they was going as well. Which kind of
how
a bit wild.
how in Coptic means simulation, and again, that was a word that the Gnostics would use. And do I think the more and more I look into these, Dead Sea Scrolls and these Gnostic texts that show up, how you mentioned earlier, his story. It's his story to the
Story, yeah.
victor, the spoils. So who the fuck is this? Is what I tell people. I said, who the fuck do you think put together the King James version of the Bible? Who do you think? Take a wild guess. Some fuck named King James put it together. And guess what? He only put in what he wanted you to see.
Yeah.
What's canonical versus non-canonical? Well, I don't know. Let's see. I don't like this Jesus in this story, so let me put this other Jesus. And what are we gonna call this? Well, I don't know. He kind of is not the same person. Let's call this the Old Testament and the New Testament. In the Old Testament, this guy's fucking batshit crazy, and in the New Testament, he's a nice guy.
Well, I mean, I've been meaning to read the Bible. I've mentioned it so many times, but I've just there's so many versions and loads of different scriptures, and I really do need to do it because, again, I want to piece it. Like I say, I believe in a whole mess of wild shit, but some of it is a joke, some of it isn't.
Yeah.
But I'd like to get the second take of that, which, again, I was raised in a Christian school, but I didn't really pay attention to fucking religious education. I thought it was a load of nonsense at the time, and even
You
now,
gotta put
I'm not, I'm not a Christian myself. I do believe there's a lot of other gods.
100%.
Um,
It says it in the book of Genesis. He is one of us now. They are like us. Wait a minute. Who the fuck is us?
I mean, I'm not saying I don't believe in a Christian God. I think there is a Christian God. I think that every God, there's probably a fucking God.
He's
But I
the
think,
same guy.
but I don't even think it's the same
He's
guy.
the same guy, bro. I think he's the
Well,
same guy.
so that's where you can get into sort of the Galactic Federation fucking, and it's all one giant overlord. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I did an
God
episode on the
damn, that
Galactic.
was fast and sharp for me. I'll have to say I've been smoking all day. This is my third show. I'm about 12 cans deep, but that was pretty fast for me. The Galactic Federation. You got any thought? What are your thoughts on the Galactic Federation? Because I mean, I believe that there are aliens, but I believe that they're people. I literally think that they're just people, highly more advanced. They're sending silicon life forms through space because we can't fucking handle it.
Yeah.
Maybe eons ago, whatever, we probably were visited by them because they had time. They took their sweet ass time. They probably did the trip once or twice. Since then, it was the silicon life forms because it didn't work out. We probably come here 3 times, 4 times, and it was like, man, we keep ending this in wars, and it keeps going to catastrophe. We're going to leave it this time. We'll send some. We'll go back to our planet. We'll send some fucking drones down. Fuck it.
I did an episode with a professor, Dr. Michael P. Masters, and he wrote the book Identified Flying Objects, a multidisciplinary scientific approach to the UFO phenomenon. And his whole take on it was that we are the aliens coming back in time to study ourselves, just how an archaeologist studies bones and a doctor studies the human body. It's just us going back in time trying to figure ourselves out.
Someone made a
And
good point to me earlier.
fucking
Sorry,
wild.
that there was. It didn't even dawn upon me that we just time is a construct.
Mm-hmm.
That's we made that shit in some aspect. But it's going to be
Joseph Scaliger is the guy that made the AD and BC system that we know today.
Oh, I didn't even
A
know
Jesuit monk.
that. Huh.
Scaligerian chronology. Look it up. And Joseph Scaliger. And I don't know if you subscribe to the Tartaria idea.
No, I've not heard of it.
You've never heard about Great Tartaria, the Tartarian Empire, the Mud Flood.
I actually haven't.
It's got to do with there was some advanced civilization before us. Have you ever heard of the 1893 World's Fair?
Yeah.
That was in Chicago. And there
Yep.
was 693 acres of beautiful architecture, just how the ones that you see there. And guess what they did after, I believe it was 6 months? They tore it all down. 98% of it, they just tore it down. So the whole conspiracy is that we found those buildings here and we just took them over, because if you look in the early 1900s, the type of technology that they had to build these beautiful neoclassical whatever the fuck architecture that they did, and then they had these things at the top of the buildings, like
Some of those
almost
are in the Amazon as well, which is fucked.
yeah. So what they used it for, the whole Nikola Tesla argument, what the tower he was building, uh the Warden Cliff Tower that he was building, what did he want to do with it? He wanted energy from the ether. He was funded by who? By JP Morgan.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening? They ended up shutting his project down, and then Thomas Edison became his little man baby, and he funded him the entire time. When in fact it was Nikola Tesla who came up with all these crazy patents. You know, he came up with the engine brake.
Yeah. Do you know what's
you ever seen? Crazy.
I love Family Guy's version of Thomas Edison. You ever see it, like the piss take that they do of him, where there's like a factory. There's like a line of people just inventing stuff, and Thomas Edison comes over and says, "Oh, what are you inventing there?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm inventing the typewriter." He's, "Yeah, I know you invented the typewriter. I invented that. I'm Thomas Edison."
Yeah.
And he's gone down the line to another fucking invention. Like, "Oh, what's that?" And it just completely overtakes them before he fucking finishes the sentence.
Yeah. So I believe that he did steal a bunch of shit from Nikola Tesla.
Stole fucking everything. Not even just Tesla. There was someone else that worked for Tesla that got a bunch of shit stolen off him. One of his assistants. Apparently,
really?
Yeah, apparently I think one of his assistants went to work and betrayed Nikola Tesla and went to work for Edison, and then got fucked over as well, which was doesn't surprise me. It's a cutthroat industry, the power industry. Here's something I learned recently: is that the obviously like the FDA and all that, they can look into anything, like the CIA, the FBI. But one thing that is very strict and under wraps is the power industry, which is so bizarre. I don't know what it's called. I mean, I know it's a lot of it's to do with nuclear shit and whatever, but some of their patents and their shit, they're not allowed to be looked into, like, completely. It's one of the most heavily guarded, like, secrets ever in terms of tech, which is so
you know why 50 Cent got into the water business and he has the brand Vitamin Water?
50 cents in the water business? I know why, because water is going to become a commodity, which is a fact.
Well, 50 Cent started selling water, and the whole reason he got into the business was because when he went to the store, he saw a bottle of water for like 98 cents and another one for $3.50, and he couldn't taste the difference. The only difference between the two bottles was the marketing, right? One had a nice logo and a bottle and all this.
The story And then
generic.
him selling it for 50 cents.
So he was like, if I can get behind the marketing, people know who I am, I can build a business of this. And he made over $100 million selling water that comes from the fucking ground that you can just drink with a cup that you just for free. But at the end of the day, just how religion is a brokered experience. Through us, you're able to achieve divinity. You're not allowed to achieve divinity on your own. So it's a brokered experience. Why do you think they ruled all those other people, the Gnostics and all these other the witches, right? All these people, because religion caused the Dark Ages.
What's
When
your
people
thoughts on
took,
witches? That's a random one. I've not spoke about witches.
I believe that certain people I b- I believe two things. I believe certain people are able to tap into certain frequencies and do certain things that they don't fully understand how to, but they're able to do it because it's like a glitch in the matrix. And I also believe that language back then was more magical, dare I say. And
Yep.
I do believe magic is a real thing. I do believe in the law of attraction,
Man, I believe in the
manifestation,
yeah,
sacred
yeah.
geometry, and all these frequencies and stuff. I'm more on the realm of we need to focus on what other dimensions there are versus what other planets, right? Because we don't even understand. Like one time I was high on mushrooms and I was watching a documentary and it was something about in the ocean, right? And there was this manta ray. And I
Oh.
could, dude, I thought it looked like an alien to me from another fucking planet, but it was just a manta ray. If you look up a manta ray,
They do look alien though when they
it's
glide.
an alien, bro. The fucking mouth. And now imagine being on mushrooms and seeing that.
Oh, they do that big mouth thing. Like, oh,
Yeah. So
glide
let's
along.
focus
They're
on what's
majestic as fuck.
yeah, let's focus on what's here on this realm, right? On this realm, on this frequency. That's the whole thing behind CERN and the God particle. The reason that they know a God particle exists because that particle has a different weight in this realm versus the next dimension. So if they're able to make it weigh something else, they know they've tapped into. That's why they talk about quantum computing when they're able to reach into parallel dimensions and open up portals and let the great old ones come through from fucking Lovecraft. What the fuck is all that about?
Lovecraft's just wild. What's your thoughts on what's in the ocean? Because there's a lot of crazy stories. There's that Russian story about the divers encountering a bunch of like aliens from under the ocean, and there's all these ships that keep going into the ocean, and it's a very weird thing,
I
you know.
believe, I mean, just how everything else, anything is possible at this point. Who knows? Like that one movie was a Pacific Rim. There's a portal to another dimension that these monsters are coming through at the bottom of the Pacific
Oh yeah,
Ocean.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe
I forgot
maybe
about
that
the
might be
Pacific
true. Who
Rim
the
one.
fuck knows? You know, the Mariana Trench is how deep?
Well, it's 30. I'd like to say 35,000 feet, but I don't know if that's right.
36,000 feet. That
Oh,
is
I was
crazy.
close. I was so close. 1,000 off. I know I went far off. I mean,
That's 6.8
six, 8
miles.
miles. Yeah.
Holy dude, imagine that. The
Well,
darkness that's down there and just the that is crazy to me, bro. That is
even if
so
you just
crazy.
put it to 7 miles, it's just not even that. 6.5 miles. I know how far that is just from cycling, or even running
Now
back in
imagine
the day.
swimming that far that long.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You can't
That's crazy.
put it
See, I
into
can't
a
wrap my mind around the figures here on Earth. So, and you're gonna tell me that Saturn is X light years away, and in one light year there's 7 trillion miles. Are you gonna make me believe that shit?
have you
Like, I think everything's obscure to a certain extent. You know what I mean?
have you ever read any of the 2001 books? Obviously, you've got 2001 and 2010.
I've seen the
Uh,
movies, but I haven't read the books.
the books are fantastic.
Yeah, are they better than
Hot.
the movie?
Mm, well, you can't say it's better than the movie, but it's a very good book. I'd have been shocked that you've not read it if you've been studying this Saturn cube.
I didn't even know that there was a book.
Oh yeah,
Is
it's
it by author C. Clarke in 1968?
yep. That's the one they literally he wrote it parallel to the film.
And the Sentinel, he did the Sentinel too.
Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. There's a whole mess all based around this fucking monolith, and the Sentinel's another one.
The Lost World of 2001.
Trust me, there's a whole mess. This is like with the time cube thing is such a strange thing because, like I say, there's a lot of people that have wrote about it to some aspects.
Well,
And he's probably one of the first.
it's there's something, I believe there's something behind it, bro. And I do believe that. Did you know that when Elon Musk said that there's a 1 in a billion chance that we're in a simulation and that reality is going to be indistinguishable from a virtual world? Do
Yep.
you know that shortly after that, Bank of America came out with an article saying that there was a 30 to 40% chance that we were in a simulation? Bank of America issued an official statement stating, I think it was a 30 to 50% chance or 40 to 50% chance. What the fuck? Why would they
yeah.
waste their time? Bank of America, one of the biggest banking institutions in the world.
Do you want to hear something crazier than that? And again, I got this from this is an Alex Jones quote. Lockheed Martin. Yeah, we know who they are.
Yeah.
They several months ago got behind the trans movement, started donating money.
What?
What bizarre, right? Where do you even take that information? This is an Alex Jones quote. You can Google this. It was on the Flagrant 2 podcast. You know,
I saw that, but I didn't see that part.
yeah, he was. I made notes about it. I've spoke about it a couple of times, but as you're a conspiracy theorist like me, I wondered what your.
What the? So, they stand for LGBTQ.
So they said they stand for it, and they was apparently donating some sort of money that he was saying. But work that out. They're a cruise missile company. What's the?
Yeah, they have a lot of contracts with the U.S. government and everything, but
guided cruise missiles.
It's all. This is what I tell people. It's all in the same. Trump was just as bad as Biden. They're all the same people. It's just this. It's just the Truman Show.
Yeah.
It's this big show.
Bizarre. I mean,
yeah.
There's nothing against it, but it's just one of those weird things. I mean, there's so many companies out there that have yet to do it, but one of them that has makes guided cruise missiles and potential technology that we can't even fathom.
So, there's only 3 Space Odyssey movies, right?
I think they actually just made 2. I don't think they made a 3rd. The second one wasn't really endorsed much, because obviously Kubrick didn't do anything to do with the second one. But it was somewhat based upon the book. It wasn't amazing. I don't think there was a 3rd film. Probably could have been. If there was, I've not seen it. And it's probably very hard to find.
Because right now I'm seeing, there was only 2, the 2001 and the 2010.
Yeah.
But then I see that he did 2061 and then 3000.
3001, yeah. There's 4, sorry. Currently, I'm the back end of. Well, I've read them all, but I'm rereading them again. I always reread books. Reread, it makes no sense. I'm getting there and back into the 3001. I'd highly recommend them.
Yeah, I'm gonna load them up on my Kindle and read them. I didn't even know there was books of it, to be honest with you.
There's a website that I use that do a lot of free PDFs. They're pretty legit as well. Can't remember what it's called now. It looks like some weird wizard website, which is crazy. And there's like tons of weird occult books and shit on there. It's a pretty cool site, but it looks like it was, like back in the day when websites were first invented, and they'd be like just like a green or black background and some.
They look dark.
Yeah, it looks like it was made by
by
someone
a
who
fucking lizard person.
maybe someone that has been doing LARP for 30 years, maybe. But back in the day, he was probably a JavaScript writer or something, you know.
That's interesting. If you think of that site, let me know. I like
I'll send it you. I've got it on my I've got it on bookmark because
looking
I,
at
I
the.
I go on there all the time because again I like looking into weird books and there's
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
tons of occult books and you know like I say I'm plastered in runes and shit, man. Like it's all in my head and like I said I'm a big believer in like paganism and Old Norse magic and shit like that. Rune magic.
Yeah, those the Welsh, right? Welsh mythology. That's so magical
Yeah,
and so full of
yeah,
lore.
Celtic mythology is something that's its problem is it's even as English people, there's only a tiny bit about it that we can sort of learn because most of it's in their fucking language, which is ridiculous to speak. We live next door to this like country that we can barely even get, you know, if they never spoke the English language, we'd be fucked.
Well, I find it interesting that
So strange.
we can't read their language, but then Thursday, Thursday, Fridays,
Well,
Friday, like
all every day of the week is named
Bluetooth
after. Yeah,
was the fucking king that united all the kingdoms
yep.
together, all the tribes. That's
King
crazy.
Harold. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Harold Bluetooth. It
every
just
day,
blows my
every
mind.
day of the week. Well, some of them are named after Greek as well. You can still they. That's what's kind of strange is they also cross parallel with Greeks.
That's
Kind
why
of
at
very
the end of the
strange.
day,
No, sorry, the months. Sorry, the months are Greek. Sorry, the months are Greek, and the days.
oh, I got you.
No, I don't know. No, they do.
Some of them, I'm pretty sure, bro.
Yeah. I might have to actually have a rethink about that when I'm not so fucked. I don't know. I think I'm some of them, maybe. I don't know. I know definitely the months are Greek, but days of the week, they're all named after Norse gods.
That's why, like I said earlier, bro, I think everything is uh, just this amalgam, right, of all things
Oh
put
yeah.
together and just one big clusterfuck. And who knows, 100 years from now it'll be different. Who knows if they'll change the names of the week to some TikTok stars or some shit. Who the fuck knows? You know?
Cash me outside Mondays. Some
Yeah,
shit like
for
that.
real. Because that's how history is. Imagine the people who are gonna find our ruins and be like, "What the fuck did they use this for?" Like, well,
Yeah,
you know,
man,
like
there'd be some weird shit that they'd find. It's when they start finding dolls. Do you know, like in Planet of the Apes, where they find, you know, in the original, where they find the doll, and that's how they try and prove it.
I've actually never seen the original Planet of the
Ah,
Apes.
man, you should.
You sound like my buddy Tom that I do a podcast with. He put me onto like the original Indiana Jones because I hadn't seen the original Indiana Jones. And
Wow. For someone that's on this Saturn time cube shit,
yeah,
there's tons in that. Even I noticed that. The Nazis and after the artifacts, they did it all
yeah,
in Indiana Jones. It's crazy. They somewhat made those films to inspire the nation after their fucking travesty,
right.
you know?
That's so weird. And again, how I've said on a lot of podcasts, I feel we're talking about magic and occult books. I feel like these magicians, their audiences get wider and wider, and their resources get bigger and bigger, so they're able to spread and do these rituals that I believe that they're doing throughout a broader audience. You know what I mean? Using, it first went from from the radio, then the radio went to the TV, and then from the TV went to the internet, and then the
Well,
internet, and it's
I mean, I've said this twice now tonight. It'll come back round. But obviously, the Germans were the masters of propaganda and spreading news. It's a fact. They were the best. But the unpopular opinion and is that you know you can fault Hitler, but he's also will always be known as one of the greatest dictators in human history in terms of spreading news,
yeah.
mobilization. I mean, not necessarily just him, and I'm repeating myself twice over tonight. But it's got the same intent. I'm not a fucking neo-Nazi. Pointing that one out. No, again, I can't remember how it come up in conversation earlier. Can't remember. It was
Do
all
you
it was
believe
all
he was a
based.
genius or he just had autism?
No, I don't believe he was a genius. I mean, he was fueled on fucking speed for a start, speed and testosterone. You know, there was a fact that the war could have been won if they'd have probably had more drugs and was a bit more stable.
Because when he's shaking in the Inglorious, that scene is amazing, where he's like yelling at them.
But I know my point. Anyway, but he was he will always be known as one of the greatest military dictators, strategists of all time. It'll go down in history, even though he's one of the biggest pricks of all time. Yeah, I just wanted to get that point out there. That's all I wanted to do. You can continue there.
He's a fucking prick. Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure I forgot my original point just because I wanted to protect my ass then for the second time today.
They'll still clip it, bro, and they'll just put where you talk about he's gonna be the greatest in history of all time, and then they're gonna clip out not, and they're gonna be like, I'm a neo-Nazi, and they're just gonna use that shit. Fucking run with it.
It's when I accidentally go like that. I fuck myself up when I'm drinking and there's a fly in the air, you know.
Oh shit, man! That's
motherfuckers. No, there was a point behind it.
No, I'm with you. I'm 100%. It's an unpopular opinion when you talk about it, but yes, he was. Think about it. I mean, if you're able to manipulate that many people through words, through sound,
yeah.
You know what I was getting to.
Thank you.
frequencies.
But that's where I was getting back to. That was literally on this piece of paper. A lot of people have asked me about this new sort of thing, which is the hum frequency. Do you know much about the hum? I've been asked about this hum. That there's
apparently there's a note that'll make you shit your pants.
No, not the brown sound. That's a different kind of frequency that exists. That's so crazy as well. There's a sound that makes you shit your pants. It's not so weird. Like, how many people would have come up with that idea? Like, sitting around in a room going, okay, this is what we need to do. In warfare, we need to make them shit themselves. So we need a strategic sound wave that will do that. But no, there's a low-level frequency hum, apparently, that certain people can hear. One of my friends told me to look into it. I looked into it and thought it was just people boring holes under the earth. Makes sense. I don't know if you knew anything about it.
No, I've never heard of that before.
No, I didn't. It's a weird, like, it's apparently been going on for a fair amount of years, but I didn't really know much about it. So it can't be that important. But I think it's either due to the fact that we're fracking a lot, or the fact that the Earth's core, that weird iron ball, so to speak, is like warping, which is kind of fucked up as well.
It's warping?
Yeah. It's like, you don't know much about that? It's like going off shape. Obviously, it's like a sphere.
How the fuck would they know that if it's at the center of the Earth, bro? The deepest we've gone into the crust of our Earth is like 8 miles or something like that. I
think they're using like seismic waves or some shit. I don't know, some weird lidar maybe.
Yeah, and I've heard the argument that the world is also, slowing down on its axis, so it's like wobbly.
Yeah, that's probably because of the core. It's fucking it's pointing towards Argentina.
What the fuck?
Googleable, trust me.
Wait, what do I Google?
Just put
core.
Earth core. Earth core. Off axis or fucking
it's
warping.
Doing something weird. It's
warping.
Is warping over time. It's like when you throw a pizza up in the air. What the fuck?
But well, the article I read was saying it's like coming more towards like Argentina and shit, and it's like I drew a picture of it earlier.
That's crazy, dude.
Like it's like that's my picture. If that was the ball, like that like you have to imagine the middle line is what the circle would be. So I'm assuming it's coming up like that. You know,
Yeah.
that's how I imagined it. Bear in
Or
mind
maybe
that
maybe
that
it's spinning too fast, right?
I drew that in crayon. I'm just going to point that out. Blue crayon. Okay, it's not a fact that that's what's going to happen, but it's doing some weird shit. You know, I think the poles are going to probably reverse within the next 50 years.
And that would do what? Just tilt the Earth to a crazy degree to where it would just kill everybody.
Well, no, I mean like the magnetized. You know,
Mm,
so obviously all compasses, electronics, it's all going to go fucking.
yeah.
It'll all go to shit. I think it's going to happen. I think that's why the government keep putting in these weird little fail safes as well, because they know it's probably going to happen.
Such as
Um, they. This is why I'm going to keep butchering stuff. Jesus, I wished I'd all. I need to really be like Alex Jones and have a whole mess of papers in front of me that aren't just filled with bullshit rambled notes. All right, say the question again. Sorry, I'm also skinning up.
that they're you said putting up fail safes. What sort of fail safes are you talking about?
Well, I was reading that there was they had like an almost a kill switch for the whole. Again, this is an Alex Jones thing. They had a whole like globalization kill switch of the internet, so that they could use during a pandemic. This was sort of luring on what I've said earlier on, you know, in terms of the John
Yeah.
McAfee, the blackout. Well, obviously, during this same moment where he was talking about it, he also then went on to what the next step was, which was that they then had a giant kill switch themselves, so to speak, which so to stop the next deadly outbreak of panic, which is what has happened like now.
Hmm.
The internet is going to black out.
They're setting it up.
That's apparently the next step. But if you do that, think of what all of that information has to go somewhere, because if you have an internet blackout, well, everything's digital nowadays. So you have to have a fail safe. That data has to be if the internet completely goes down. Think about Y2K. The big thought behind that was we're going to lose everything. The world's going to be fucked. Wow, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, but that's self-fulfilled prophecies too. If all you talk about is Bitcoin crashing, then you're probably gonna crash Bitcoin or some shit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You in any crypto?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, me too.
So, and yeah, and maybe that's the whole issue behind crypto and like why they're against it and stuff like that. Because it's cybersecurity, yeah. But I keep hearing that a lot.
Doge had a big push, a little push again, but it was nowhere near as what it fucking was, and then it crashed back down again. Do you know what I think is going to happen? I think it's a manipulation to get everybody's money back to an aspect. It's why I'm not selling, because if you sell, then they get the money back. Yeah, it goes.
Yeah, you're talking about they don't like the asset class and whatnot. Yeah, it's all a rigged game, dude. And we're plankton in a huge sea full of whales that we have to fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the difference is those plankton can survive longer than whales because they just keep breeding and breeding and breeding. That whale lasts a long time, don't get me wrong. Lives for a very long time, but what really is the bigger thing, man?
Yeah.
Plankton.
No, I got you.
Eventually, those plankton, listen, we ain't getting eaten no more. We're going to get a little bit bigger. And then what happens is there's plankton turn into fish. The fish get bigger, and then you end up with some weird fucking Jurassic Park plesiosaur that fucking annihilates those whales to shreds.
Yeah, it's fucking wild, bro.
I don't think there's many more conspiracies there's left to discuss.
No,
there's a few, but
I'd like to have you on my show one of these days, dude. We have to set something up and have you come on the show and we can bullshit over there.
Absolutely, I love it, man. That's all I do, just bullshit. It's been good to get your take on the time cube and a lot of other stuff. I'd like to actually get in touch with someone proper about that. So if you could hook me up, I'd like to have a reasonable show or a chat. Because everyone that I've spoke to has been so fucking vague. Like,
Again, the only guy I did it with was the guy who actually like blew up and went viral on Twitter with it, which was
okay,
Nick Hinton.
I'll have to message him, man.
And he's been off radar for some months now. I hit him up a few times, and he went on tinfoil hat a few times too.
Oh,
And
he's gone. I ain't even writing that. Throw
No,
that pen out of the way.
you don't
Jesus
like
Christ.
tinfoil hat, bro?
No, look, it's fucking Sam Tripoli. I got no fucking chance. Jesus Christ.
No, he
Listen
he
to
went
that
on my
shit, it's good shit.
show after he was on Tripoli,
Okay.
and I had 0 episodes.
Okay. Give me that pen back. What was his name again?
Nick Hinton.
Okay. You
So
never
you
know.
can check it out on my podcast. It's episode 2, and that was actually the first podcast that I ever recorded, my first ever interview. So
Don't worry, I got the episode 2 down as well. That's crazy. Do you listen to much? What podcast do you listen to, man?
I
like-
listened to. Let's see what I got here. Let me check my phone.
I
I've
mean-
been straying away from podcasts and doing more audiobooks, but obviously Joe Rogan, Duncan Trussell Family Hour,
Yeah.
Tinfoil Hat. I have the higher side chats, conspiracy theories and unpopular culture, the Brohio podcast, Hero Paranormal, Lighting the Void. I was on that show too. I don't know what episode it was, but that's a radio show. Earth Ancients, those conspiracy guys. But again, like lately, I've been listening to lectures and audiobooks and things of that nature and documentaries and stuff like that when I'm learning about a new subject, you know.
Duncan Trussell's is a great one.
Mm.
He's a really fucking funny guy, man.
Yeah, he's hilarious. I love him.
He did you see the Joe Rogan episode with him?
The latest one with him, yeah.
Yeah, that was fucking brilliant, man. The way it started and there was all in robes and shit.
Yeah.
Super
You're
cool.
fucking
Man.
wearing a wig.
Joe Rogan in that wig was hilarious. The minute it panned onto him, oh my god, I was in tears. It was so funny. Like, it had to keep moving it out of his face. Like,
I have a few people that'd be interested on coming on that make good conversation. I could shoot you over some information. You can reach out to them and just tell them I sent you. They're cool people.
Super cool, man. Like I say, I just love chatting to people. It's just a shame this one's been the late one, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this one's probably gone the best out of the day. I think this has been a pretty good one, man. I've had 2 back-to-back shows. The middle one was a bit. That's because it's not. Well, he's a regular guy, but he took about 15 interval breaks, I think, for his cocaine habit.
That's not good. Don't fucking do drugs, kids.
Well, no, don't. I mean, I can call him out because, yeah, it's cool. He can call me back out. I don't give a shit. We talk on the regular. I'm sure he'll appreciate it. No one else knows who it is apart from me and him. It's all good. Even though I call him a regular.
We'll set something up and I'll have you on the show and then we'll go from there, dude.
Absolutely, man. Well, where can people follow you before we wrap this up?
So you can find me on Instagram, and I just made a TikTok, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at the Juan Podcast. My website's the Juan Podcast .com, and then my email is the Juan Podcast at gmail.com. If you're ever interested in hitting me up with some interesting theories, or I've talked to authors, comedians, porno directors. I've talked to all sorts of people on my show, and I'm just I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
Well, I hope to aim for both, you know?
Yeah.
I certainly, well, you can clearly see that I'm on the fucking good time. But I am for the long time. Listen, man, this has been extremely fun.
I had a lot of fun. Thank you for having me on.
No, it's all cool, man. I mean, it was very short notice, but
yeah,
I didn't really get much chance to do a lot of research. But again, I'll come on your show. We'll have another wild time. And we'll just keep doing this back and forth, man. This is what we all should do as podcasters. We should all support each other, and you know, it's how we fucking grow.
Yeah, exactly.
But listen, this has been the Post Human Podcast. and I'll see you next time, people. Thank you.